meditation is supposed to be fun. It's not something you do as a grim duty. The trouble with religion, as we know it, is that it is so mixed up with grim duties. We do it because it's good for you. It's a kind of self-punishment. Well, meditation, when correctly done, has nothing to do with all that. It's a kind of digging the present. It's a kind of grooving with the eternal now. And brings us into a state of peace where we can understand that the point of life, the place where it's at, is simply here and now.
This moment is the creation of the universe. It's starting now. If you look back and wonder whether there was a big bang a long time ago, all you'll see is vanishing traces. The big bang is happening now. This is when the world begins. You're doing it. Only you're not doing it by straining. A you deeper than the straining you is doing all this. The same you that is growing your hair and coloring your eyes and making your thumbprints and all that. You don't think about it. You don't strain muscles to do it. But that is what is creating the world. Here it comes. Now. So instead of thinking that the past is the reality which explains everything that happens now, let's look at now.
On the Fringe with Dan RadioStyle. Hope everybody out there's having themselves a great day, and hope we are coming through here. Just as I now get nervous. Now we should be on. Yeah, hopefully we are. Hopefully we are. Everything looks good. Anyway, all that said, we are doing the Law of One series. If anybody can hear me, hit it in the chat if you can. And Patriots, Gerald, I feel better a lot for sure. Definitely. We are doing the Law of One series. This is 93 and 94. These sessions ended, I believe, at 106. It is a progression. It's interesting. Some of me kind of doesn't remember this part as much. I think I read a lot of the other stuff. It was more the densities and dimensions that I've always kind of been interested in. But this has been such a fun experience for me to, quote, teach, learn, teach. This has been fun as hell. So I've appreciated you guys, all of you, especially coming along with me on this journey. And A-Score, just to call out to a lot of help. She's been hitting me up in the background with a lot of the help with the questions and stuff, and it's just made such a big difference to streamline this process. So again, all the help is always appreciated. Sessions 93 and 94 are doing, dealing with two different things. There's two archetypes. They've talked about the cards. I've actually got a picture I can pull up here. These are the archetypes that we're talking about. So 3 and 4, the middle one and the one to the right. They're crazy pictures. Like, again, I don't want to be the one to explain all this to you guys. What this is it's a journey, and that's why they answer the questions. Ra answers the questions the way they do. It's not anyone's reason to tell you what something means. It's the experience in seeking. You know, the knock and the door shall be opened. It's that concept that matters most. And as you work through that process, you'll find that you expand in places you didn't know you would. It's just super cool. Like the blueprint they talk about in this, the archetype minds, the way they kind of play through. And again, I think Tarot is a great example. Like I've said with numerology, it's a great example of how you can kind of say, universe, here's sort of what I'm going to use to kind of understand the other side of the veil, and I'm going to understand some of the crazy stuff. And you give it a place to show you answers, and you will be amazed at the answers you get. It's just it's a fun experience. Again, I've done stuff even as simple as just flipping a coin. Do a yes/no question and flip a coin, and just watch how many times that serves. And it will serve to a point. But then once you already know there's more to this, it stops working and it'll start messing with you. So again, it's cool at first, and this is all law of confusion stuff. So whatever, you don't believe it. It's crazy. What does this guy know? Nothing. I don't know anything. So veil and polarities. We're going to talk about that. The veil is a big deal. When people die, they go to the other side of the veil. Before we're born, we come from the other side of the veil. A lot of people have all this magic and mystery around that, but that's in a nutshell what it is. And if any of you guys, and this was kind of how I learned, I had one of my grandpa, was a special man, and when he passed, I saw him afterwards and experienced him, and like he touched me, and like it was a really trippy experience, and it like changed my life forever. And so there's certain things that can and will happen when you open yourself up to it. And knocking again, the door shall be opened. So exciting stuff. But the polarities, the way the veil works, and then catalyst on top of that. They actually cover a lot of really cool stuff in 93. The catalyst can come from a service to self, service to others. And even if you're a service to others person, you can get a service to self catalyst. You can experience some of those components. You can even walk down that path a little bit, sometimes an accident, be like, ooh, this is a bad neighborhood. There's a purpose for everything. And when you appreciate what life is giving you and showing you and what the catalyst is, and you realize that it's coming from you, you're the creator. It's your higher self. That's where the power is. That's where it'll change your life forever. When you finally realize that and like, I'm showing this to myself. Yes. It's not someone else's fault. It's totally you showing this to you. Why? And when you understand that, everything changes and it will immediately stop. That's the best part. Or keep going, depending. Sometimes you like it. Again, 22 archetypes, blueprint. We have a blueprint. There's rules on this game. It's the matrix, for lack of a better way to put it. There's rules. And your mind, broken into these 22 different archetypes, or your body, mind, spirits is broken into these archetypes. It's really what this is all about. And I don't know how far in we get, because they do one a session, I'm assuming, and I don't think we have 22 more sessions left, so I don't know what happens. But it is kind of that way of the higher self, source, God, however you want to look at it, is showing yourself something like from the other side of the veil. And you're able to use these tools here to assess this craziness that you're seeing. To me, again, this is why I wanted to talk about this stuff nowadays, not necessarily like what this was 10 years ago, because 10 years ago, this was a very different thing. And even a lot of people questioned timelines, because that's one thing they talk a lot about, the timelines. And they're like, well, since 2012, believe it or not, I think we've got an evolving timeline, and it's very interesting. And again, we'll talk more about it as we work through it. But we've got a fun thing. And then 94 is just, again, the fourth archetype instead of the third in 93, but experience of the mind is the second one. And that's really, we're manifesting where, I don't know if you guys have ever done this before, but have you ever like literally believed something like that person, that they like me, or this individual over here is sketchy, and they end up just walking up and be like nice, or the person that you swore loved you or liked you, and then all of a sudden they're not interested, or when you talk to them, it's just not that, like you ever convinced yourself of something in your mind, or you get that chatter in your mind when you're trying to manifest, and it always is questioning everything you do. No, that's not going to happen. No, blah, 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 blah. And it's saying like 7 times the number of thoughts I heard recently, and I think that's probably close. It's noise that you have to learn to deal with. And so these two tonight are epic. And I hope you guys agree. And we are going to kick off session 93. This is, of course, the Law of One. And we are getting closer towards the end. And it is only, it's a lot of places. I'm not going to be honest. It's not only, but it's right now. Only on the Fringe. Law of One, session 93, recorded August 18th, 1982. Ra. I am Ra. I greet you in the love and in the light of the one infinite creator. We communicate now. Questioner, could you first please give me the condition of the instrument? Ra. I am Ra. The physical complex distortions of this instrument far more closely approach what you might call the zero mark. That is, the instrument, while having no native physical energy, is not nearly so far in physical energy deficit distortions. The vital energy distortions are somewhat strengthened since the last asking. Questioner, what is the position and condition of our fifth density negatively oriented visitor? Ra. I am Ra. This entity is with this group, but in a quiescent state, due to some bafflement as to the appropriate method for enlarging upon its chosen task. Questioner. Thank you. The foundations of our present illusion we have stated previously to be the concept of polarity. I would ask that since we have defined the two polarities as service to others and service to self, is there a more complete or eloquent or enlightening definition or any more information that we don't have at this time on the two ends of the poles that would give us a better insight into the nature of polarity itself? Ra. I am Ra. It is unlikely that there is a more pithy or eloquent description of the polarities of third density than service to others and service to self, due to the nature of the mind-body-spirit complex's distortions towards perceiving concepts relating to philosophy in terms of ethics or activity. However, we might consider the polarities using slightly variant terms. In this way, a possible enrichment of insight might be achieved for some. One might consider the polarities with the literal nature enjoyed by the physical polarity of the magnet. The negative and positive, with their electrical characteristics, may be seen to be just as in the physical sense. It is to be noted in this context that it is quite impossible to judge the polarity of an act or an entity, just as it is impossible to judge the relative goodness of the negative and positive poles of the magnet. Another method of viewing polarities might involve the concept of radiation absorption. That which is positive is radiant, that which is negative is absorbent. Questioner. Now, if I understand correctly, prior to the veiling process, the electrical polarities, the polarities of radiation and absorption, all existed in some part of the creation. But the service to others, service to self, polarity that we're familiar with had not evolved and only showed up after the veiling process as an addition to the list of possible polarities, you might say, that could be made in the creation. Is this correct? Ra. I am Ra. No. Questioner. Would you correct me on that? Ra. I am Ra. The description of polarity as service to self and service to others from the beginnings of our creation dwelt within the architecture of the primal logos. Before the veiling process, the impact of actions taken by mind, bodies, spirits upon their consciousness was not palpable to the significant enough degree to allow the expression of this polarity to be significantly useful. Over the period of what you call time, this expression of polarity did indeed work to alter the biases of mind, body, spirits, so that they might eventually be harvested. The veiling process made the polarity far more effective. Questioner. I might make the analogy then, in that when a polarization in the atmosphere occurs to create thunderstorms, lightning, and much activity, this more vivid experience could be likened to the polarization in consciousness, which creates the more vivid experience. Would this be appropriate? Ra. I am Ra. There is a shallowness to this analogy, in that one entity's attention might be focused upon a storm for the duration of the storm. However, the storm-producing conditions are not constant, whereas the polarizing conditions are constant. Given this disclaimer, we may agree with your analogy. Questioner. With the third tarot card, we came to the first edition of archetypes after the veiling process, as I understand it. And I am assuming that this third archetype is, shall I say, loaded in a way so as to create, if possible, polarization, since that seems to be one of the many objectives of this particular logos in the evolutionary process. Am I in any way correct on this? Ra, I am Ra. Before we reply to your query, we ask your patience, as we must needs examine the mind complex of this instrument in order that we might attempt to move the left manual appendage of the instrument. If we are not able to effect some relief from pain, we shall take our leave. Please have patience while we do that which is appropriate. 30-second pause occurs. I am Ra. There will continue to be pain flares. However, the critical portion of the intense pain has been alleviated by repositioning. Your supposition is correct. Questioner, there seems to be no large hint of polarity in this drawing, except for the possible coloration of the many cups in the wheel. Part of them are colored black, and part of the cup is white. Would this indicate that each experience has within it the possible negative or positive use that experience that is randomly generated by this seeming wheel of fortune? Ra, I am Ra. Your supposition is thoughtful. However, it is based upon an addition to the concept complex, which is astrological in origin. Therefore, we request that you retain the concept of polarity, but release the cups from their structured form. The element you deal with is not in motion in its original form, but is indeed the abiding sun, which, from the spirit, shines in protection over all catalysts available from the beginning of complexity to the discerning mind-body-spirit complex. Indeed, you may rather find polarity expressed, firstly, by the many opportunities offered in the material illusion, which is imagined by the not white and not dark square upon which the entity of the image is seated. Secondly, upon the position of that seated entity. It does not meet opportunity straight on, but glances off to one side or another. In the image, you will note a suggestion that the offering of the illusion will often seem to suggest the opportunities lying upon the left-hand path, or, as you might refer to it more simply, the service to self path. This is a portion of the nature of the catalyst of the mind. Questioner. The feet of the entity seem to be on unstable platform, that is, dark to the rear and light to the front. I am guessing that possibly this indicates that the entity standing on this could sway in either direction, toward the left or right-hand path. Is this in any way correct? Ra, I am Ra. This is most perceptive. Questioner. The bird, I am guessing, might be a messenger. The two paths depicted by the position of the wings, bringing catalyst which could be used to polarize on either path. Is this in any way correct? Ra, I am Ra. It is a correct perception that the position of the winged creature is significant. The more correct perception of this entity and its significance is the realization that the mind-body-spirit complex is, having made contact with its potentiated self, now beginning its flight towards that great logos, which is that which is sought by the adept. Further, the nature of the winged creature is echoed both by the female holding it and the symbol of the female upon which the figure's feet rests. That is, the nature of catalyst is overwhelmingly of an unconsciousness, coming from that which is not of the mind and which has no connection with the intellect, as you call it, which proceeds or is concomitant with catalytic action. All uses of catalyst by the mind are those consciously applied to catalyst. Without conscious intent, the use of catalyst is never processed through mentation, ideation, and imagination. Questioner, I would like, if possible, an example of the activity we call catalyst of the mind in a particular individual undergoing this process. Could Ra give me an example of that? Ra, I am Ra. All that assaults your sense is catalyst. We, in speaking to this support group through this instrument, offer catalyst. The configurations of each in the group of body offer catalyst through comfort-discomfort. In fact, all that is unprocessed, that has come before the notice of the mind-body-spirit complex, is catalyst. Questioner, then presently we receive catalyst of the mind as we are aware of Ra's communication. And we receive catalyst of the body as our body senses all of the inputs to the body, as I understand it. But could Ra then describe catalyst of the spirit, and Are we at this time receiving that catalyst also? And if not, could Ra give an example of that? Ra, I am Ra. Catalyst being processed by the body is catalyst for the body. Catalyst being processed by the mind is catalyst for the mind. Catalyst being processed by the spirit is a catalyst for the spirit. An individual mind-body-spirit complex may use any catalyst which comes before its notice, be it through the body and its senses, or through mentation, or through any other more highly developed source, and use this catalyst in its unique way to form an experience unique to it with its biases. Questioner, would I be correct in saying that the archetype for the catalyst of the mind is the Logos's model for its most efficient plan for the activity or use or action of the catalyst of the mind? Ra, I am Ra. Yes. Questioner, then the adept, in becoming familiar with the Logos's archetype in each case, would then be able to most efficiently use the Logos's plan for evolution. Is this correct? Ra, I am Ra. In the archetypal mind, one has the resource of not specifically a plan for evolution, but rather a blueprint or architecture of the nature of evolution. This may seem to be a small distinction, but it has significance in perceiving more clearly the use of this resource of the deep mind. Questioner, then Ra presented the images which we know now as the tarot so that the Egyptian adepts of the time could accelerate their personal evolution. Is this correct? And was there any other reason for the presentation of these images by Ra? Ra, I am Ra. You are correct. Questioner, are there any other uses at all of value of these images or tarot cards than the one I just stated? Ra, I am Ra. To the student, the tarot images offer a resource for learned teaching the process of evolution. To any other entity, these images are pictures and no more. Questioner, I was specifically thinking of the fact that Ra, in an earlier session, spoke of the tarot as a system of divination. Could you tell me what you meant by that? Ra, I am Ra. Due to the influence of the Chaldees, the system of archetypal images was incorporated by the priests of that period into a system of astrologically based study, learning, and divination. This was not a purpose for which Ra developed the tarot. Questioner, the third card also shows the wand. I am assuming it is in the right hand, the ball at the top being the round magical shape. Am I in any way correct in guessing that catalyst of the mind suggests possible eventual use of the magic depicted by this wand? Ra, I am Ra. The wand is astrological in its origin, and as an image may be released from its stricture. The sphere of spiritual power is an indication indeed that each opportunity is pregnant with the most extravagant magical possibilities for the far-seeing adept. Questioner, would the fact that the clothing of the entity is transparent indicate the semi-permeability of the veil for the mental catalyst process? Ra, I am Ra. We again must pause. 15-second pause. I am Ra. We continue under somewhat less than optimal conditions. However, due to the nature of this instrument's opening to us, our pathway is quite clear, and we shall continue. Due to pain flares, we must ask that you repeat your last query. Questioner, I was just wondering if the transparency of the garment on the third card indicates the semi-permeable nature of the veil between conscious and subconscious. Ra, I am Ra. This is a thoughtful perception and cannot be said to be incorrect. However, the intended suggestion in general is an echo of our earlier suggestion that the nature of catalyst is that of the unconscious. That is, outward catalyst comes through the veil. All that you perceive seems to be consciously perceived. This is not the correct supposition. All that you perceive is perceived as catalyst unconsciously. By the, shall we say, time that the mind begins its appreciation of catalyst, that catalyst has been filtered through the veil, and in some cases, much is veiled in the most apparently clear perception. Questioner, I'm at a loss to know the significance of the serpents that adorn the head of the entity on this drawing. Are they of Ra, and if so, what do they signify? Ra. I am Ra. They are cultural in nature. In the culture to which these images were given, the serpent was the symbol of wisdom. Indeed, to the general user of these images, perhaps the most accurate connotation of this portion of the concept complexes might be the realization that the serpent is that which is powerful magically. In the positive sense, this means that the serpent will appear at the indigo ray site upon the body of the image figures. When a negative connotation is intended, one might find the serpent at the solar plexus center. Questioner. Is there any polarity to the serpent as we experience it in this illusion? Ra. I am Ra. We assume that you question the serpent as used in these images rather than the second density life form, which is a portion of your experience. There is a significance to the serpent form in a culture which coexists with your own, but which is not your own. That is, the serpent as a symbol of that which some call the Kundalini, and which we have discussed in previous material. Questioner. Is there any other aspect of this third card that Ra could comment on at this time? Ra. I am Ra. There may be said to be many aspects which another student might note and ponder in this image. However, it is the nature of teach learning to avoid trespass into the realms of learned teaching for the student. We are quite agreed to comment upon all observations that the student may make. We cannot speak further than this for any student. We would add that it is expected that each student shall naturally have a unique experience of perception dealing with each image. Therefore, it is not expected that the questioner ask comprehensively for all students. It is rather expected and accepted that the questioner will ask a moiety of questions which build upon a series of concepts concerning each archetype, which then offers to each succeeding student the opportunity for more informed study of the archetypal mind. May we ask for one more query at this time? We are pleased to report that this instrument has remembered to request the reversing of some transferred energy to make more comfortable the transition back to the waking state. Therefore, we find that there is sufficient energy for one more query. Questioner. I am assuming that you mean one full question, and I'll make that question. I'd like to know the significance of the shape of the crux ansata, and if that's too much of an answer, I will just ask if there is anything we can do to make the instrument more comfortable or improve the contact. Ra. I am Ra. There are mathematical ratios within this image which may yield informative insights to one fond of riddles. We shall not untangle the riddle. We may indicate that the crux ansata is a part of the concept complexes of the archetypal mind. The circle indicating the magic of the spirit, the cross indicating the nature of manifestation which may only be valued by the losing. Thus, the crux ansata is intended to be seen as an image of the eternal in and through manifestation and beyond manifestation through the sacrifice and transformation of that which is manifest. The support group functions well. The swirling waters experienced by the instrument since our previous workings have substantially aided the instrument in its lessening of the distortions of pain. All is well. The alignments are well guarded. We leave you, my friends, in the love and the light of the Infinite One. Go forth, therefore, rejoicing in the power and in the peace of the one infinite and glorious Creator, Adonai. On the Fringe, Dan RadioStyle, of course, doing Law of One, session 93. Again, a lot of veil, polarities, catalyst, third archetype. Again, powerful stuff. 2 points I wanted to make, and I think there's a question or two. We'll see. But catalyst of the spirit is one of the things I wrote in here. So most of us are very focused on mind and body. Mind, by the way, is very powerful. Mind, the catalyst of the mind, that chatter in the mind is very powerful. Most of us don't contain that, control it, have any say in it, try to guide it, understand it. Very few. It's powerful. It leads most of us into wherever we go. So important to remember that. Mind and body or where a lot of us feel, my aches and pains in my mind, I'm always thinking about it. But the spirit is what came here to begin with. The spirit is why this is happening. The spirit is that connection to above. Well, as we reference it. It's not quite how it works, more from within, I think. I don't know. Nobody knows where it's at. It's like a dimensional thing, probably. Another thing, serpent. It's much like 17Q, all these different things, right? Like, the serpent is an image, is a thing that has been damaged, ruined. I mean, that medical thing has a swirling serpent around. That's actually meant to be a good thing. But the concept of kundalini, the energies wrapping around, or even from the standpoint of the medicine where the tail eats the, I think that's that one, where the tail eats the head eats the tail. But the serpent represents something, but has been sort of damaged. The devil's affiliated with the serpent. Right, wrong, and different. I'm not saying it is or isn't. I'm not saying anything. But what I am saying is it's interesting that happens to be the animal that it's affiliated with. So these things are sort of prevalent everywhere, it seems. Let's see what we got here. Patriot Daryl, he's just being funny. Okay. You want me to handle the questions today? Yeah, Patriot Daryl, you got them. You got the questions. You hit me up, and we'll make sure that happens. You guys are awesome. I love you all. So fourth archetype is coming up, and again, the experience of the mind. Keep that in mind. How often have you been somewhere and there's chatter in your mind? Now, I'm not saying you talk to it, which I do, and you should. It's actually a good thing. But how many of you just let it run wild? Let it affect you? I don't know. Maybe I do look fat. I don't know what to... Right? Like, talk to it. Experience it. Because it is actually part of this experience. And again, you're told that you're crazy if you talk to your imaginary friends. Be like a child. I think it was Jesus. I think he said something. You guys go look it up. You guys are the experts. But be like a child. If you come at this with a childlike experience, you will be amazed at what you pull from it. It's very good stuff. All right, we've got session 94 right here. It is on the Fringe, and it is, of course, Dan Radio Style. 1982. Ra. I am Ra. I greet you in the love and in the light of the one infinite creator. I communicate now. Questioner, could you first please give me a condition of the instrument? Ra. I am Ra. There is some small increase in physical energy deficit. It is not substantial. All else is as the previous asking. Questioner, I have questions here from the instrument. 1. Is our fifth density friend responsible for the instrument's extreme distortion towards pain during and just after sessions? Ra. I am Ra. Yes. Questioner, is there anything that we can do that we are not doing to remedy this situation so that the instrument does not experience this pain or as much of it? Ra. I am Ra. There is little that can be done due to a complex of pre-existing distortions. The distortions are triple in the source. There is the, shall we say, less than adequate work of your chirurgeons, which allows for various distortions in the left wrist area. There is the distortion called systemic lupus erythematosus, which causes the musculature of the lower left and right arms to allow for distortions in the normal, shall we say, configurations of both. Lastly, there is the nerve damage, more especially to the left, but in both appendages from the thoracic outlet. In the course of the waking behavior, the instrument can respond to the various signals which ring the tocsin of pain, thus alerting the mind complex, which in turn moves the physical complex in many and subtle configurations, which relieve the various distortions. Your friend greets these distortions, as has been stated before, immediately prior to the beginnings of the workings. However, during the working, the instrument is not with its yellow ray chemical vehicle, and thusly the many small movements which could most effectively aid in the decrease of these distortions is not possible. Ra must carefully examine the mental configurations of the mind complex in order to make even the grossest manipulation. It is not our skill to use a yellow ray vehicle. The weight of the cover has some deleterious effect upon these distortions in some cases, and thus we mentioned that there was a small thing which could be done. That is, the framing of that which lifted the coverlet from the body slightly. In order to compensate for loss of warmth, the wearing of material warming the manual appendages would then be indicated. Questioner: I immediately think of the instrument wearing long underwear under the robe that it now wears, and an extremely light white cover. Would this be satisfactory? Ra: I am Ra. Due to this instrument's lack of radiant physical energy, the heavier cover is suggested. Questioner: in your statement near the beginning of it, you said less than adequate work of your... and there was a word that I didn't understand at all. Are you familiar with the word that I am trying to understand? Ra: I am Ra. No. Questioner: Well, have to wait until we transcribe the material then. I assume that our fifth density negative friend doesn't cause the distortion all the time simply because he wishes to emphasize the fact that the instrument is going to be distorted only if she attempts one of these service to others workings, therefore attempting to stifle the working. Is this correct? Ra: I am Ra. This is partially correct. The incorrect portion is this. The entity of which you speak has found its puissance less than adequate to mount a continuous assault upon this instrument's physical vehicle and has, shall we say, chosen the more effective of the space-time nexi of this instrument's experience for its service. Questioner: Could you tell me why I have felt so extremely tired on several recent occasions? Ra: I am Ra. This has been covered in previous material. The contact which you now experience costs a certain amount of the energy which each of the group brought into the manifestation in the present incarnation. Although the brunt of this cost falls upon the instrument, it is comparisoned by pre-incarnative design with the light and gladsome armor of faith, and will to a far more conscious extent than most mind-body-spirit complexes are able to enjoy without much training and initiation. Those of the support group also offer the essence of will and faith in service to others, supporting the instrument as it releases itself completely in the service to the one Creator. Therefore, each of the support group also experiences a weariness of the spirit which is indistinguishable from physical energy deficit, except that if each experiments with this weariness, each shall discover the physical energy in its usual distortion. Questioner: Thank you. I really didn't mean to go over previous material. I should have phrased my question more carefully so that is what I expected. I was trying to get confirmation of the fact that I suspected that. I will be more careful in questioning from now on. From the instrument, we have the question. While vacationing, I uncovered a lot about myself not consciously known before. It seems to me that I coast on the spiritual gifts given at birth and never have spent any time getting to know my human self, which seems to be a child, immature, and irrational. Is this so? Ra: I am Ra. This is partially correct. Questioner: Then she says, if this is so, this seems to be part of the riddle about the manner of beingness that Ra spoke of. I fear if I do not work successfully on my human distortions, I shall be responsible for losing the contact. Yet, also, Ra suggests the over-dedication to any outcome is unwise. Could Ra comment on these thoughts? Ra: I am Ra. We comment in general first upon the query about the contact, which indicates once again that the instrument views the mind-body-spirit complex with jaundiced eye. Each mind-body-spirit complex that is seeking shall almost certainly have the immature and irrational behavior. It is also the case that this entity, as well as almost all seekers, has done substantial work within the framework of the incarnative experience and has indeed developed maturity and rationality. That this instrument should fail to see that which has been accomplished and see only that which remains to be accomplished may well be noted. Indeed, any seeker discovering in itself this complex of mental and mental-emotional distortions shall ponder the possible non-efficacy of judgment. As we approach the second portion of the query, we view the possibility of infringement upon free will. However, we believe we may reply within the boundaries of the law of confusion. This particular instrument was not trained, nor did it study, nor worked it at any discipline in order to contact Ra. We were able, as we have said many times, to contact this group using this instrument because of the purity of this instrument's dedication to the service of the one infinite Creator, and also because of the great amount of harmony and acceptance enjoyed by each within the group. This situation making it possible for the support group to function without significant distortion. We are humble messengers. How can any thought be taken by an instrument as to the will of the Creator? We thank this group that we may speak through it, but the future is mazed. We cannot know whether our jest may, after one final working, be complete. Can the instrument then think for a moment that it shall cease in the service of the one infinite Creator? We ask the instrument to ponder these queries and observations. Questioner: from the previous sessions, the statement was made that much is veiled to the most apparently clear observations. Would Ra expand on what was meant by that statement? I assume that this means the veiling of all of that is outside the limits of what we call our physical perception, having to do with the spectrum of light, etc. But I also intuit there is more than that veiled. Would Ra expand on that concept? Ra: I am Ra. You are perceptive in your supposition. Indeed, we meant not any suggestions that the physical apparatus of your current illusion were limited as part of the veiling process. Your physical limits are as they are. However, because of the unique biases of each mind-body-spirit complex, there are sometimes quite simple instances of distortion when there is no apparent cause for such distortion. Let us use the example of the virile and immature male who meets and speaks clearly with a young female whose physical form has the appropriate configuration to cause, for this male entity, the activation of the red ray sexual arousal. The words spoken may be upon a simple subject such as naming, information as to the occupation, and various other common interchanges of sound vibratory complex. The male entity, however, is using almost all the available consciousness it possesses in registering the desirability of the female. Such may also be true of the female. Thusly, an entire exchange of information may be meaningless because the actual catalyst is of the body. This is unconsciously controlled and is not a conscious decision. This example is simplistic. Questioner: I have drawn a small diagram in which I simply show an arrow which represents catalyst penetrating a line at the right angles to the arrow, which is the veil, and then depositing in one of the two repositories, one which I would call on the right-hand path, one on the left-hand path. And I have labeled these two repositories for the catalytic action as it's filtered through the veil, the experience. Would this be a very rough analogy of the way the catalyst is filtered through the veil to become experience? Ra: I am Ra. Again, you are partially correct. The deeper biases of the mind-body-spirit complex pilot the catalyst around the many aisles of positivity and negativity, as expressed in the archipelago of the deeper mind. However, the analogy is incorrect in that it does not take into account the further polarization which most certainly is available to the conscious mind after it has perceived the partially polarized catalyst from the deeper mind. Questioner: It seems to me that the experience of the mind would act in such a way as to change the nature of the veil so that catalyst would be filtered so as to be more acceptable in the bias that is increasingly chosen by the entity. For instance, if the entity had chosen the right-hand path, the experience of the mind would change the permeability of the veil to accept more and more positive catalyst, and also the other would be true for accepting more negative if the left-hand path were the one that was repeatedly chosen. Is this correct? Ra: I am Ra. This is not only correct, but there is a further ramification. As the entity increases in experience, it shall, more and more, choose positive interpretations of catalyst if it is upon the service to others' path, and negative interpretations of catalyst if its experience has been along the service to self path. Questioner: Then the mechanism designed by the logos of the action of catalyst resulting in experience was planned to be a self-accelerating, in that it would create this process of, shall I say, variable permeability that was of the function of the chosen path. Is this an adequate statement? Ra: I am Ra. There is no variable permeability involved in the concepts we have just discussed. Except for this, you are quite correct. Questioner: I can understand, to use a poor term again, the necessity for an archetype for catalyst or a model for catalyst of the mind. But what is the reason for having a blueprint or model for experience of the mind other than this simple model of the dual repository for the negative and positive catalyst? It would seem to me that the first distortion of free will would be better served if no model for experience were made. I'm somewhat confused on this. Could you clear it up? Ra, I am Ra. Your question is certainly interesting, and your confusion hopefully productive. We cannot teach for the student. We shall simply note, as we have previously, the attraction of various archetypes to male and to female. We suggest that this line of consideration may prove productive. Questioner. In the fourth archetype, the card shows a male whose body faces forward. I assume this indicates that the experience of the mind will reach for catalyst. However, the face is to the left, indicating to me that it is reaching for catalyst. Negative catalyst will be more apparent in its power and effect than the positive. Would Ra comment on this? Ra, I am Ra. The archetype of experience of the mind reaches not, O student, but with firm authority grasps what is given. The remainder of your remarks are perceptive. Questioner. Experience is seated on the square of the material illusion, which is colored much darker than the card number 3. However, there is a cat inside this. I am guessing that as experience is gained, the second density nature of the illusion is understood, and the negative and positive aspects are separated. Would Ra comment on this? Ra, I am Ra. This interpretation varies markedly from Ra's intentions. We direct the attention to the cultural meaning of the great cat which guards. What, O student, does it guard? And with what oriflamme does it lighten that darkness of manifestation? The polarities are indeed present, the separation non-existent except through the sifting which is the result of the cumulative experience. Other impressions were intended by this configuration of the seated image with its milk-white leg and its pointed foot. Questioner, what was the last word that Ra communicated? I didn't quite hear it. Ra, I am Ra. We spoke the sound vibration complex, foot. Due to some pain flares, we are at times less than secure in the speaking. However, the way is open and conditions remain good for this working. Please continue to query if there is any difficulty in transmission. Questioner, in card 3, the feet of the female entity are upon the unstable platform, signifying dual polarity by its color. In card 4, one foot, pointed, indicates that if the male entity stands on the toe, it would be carefully balanced. The other foot is pointed to the left. Would Ra comment on my observations that if the entity stands on this foot, it will be very, very carefully balanced? Ra, I am Ra. This is an important perception, for it is a key to not only this concept complex, but to others as well. You may see the T-square, which at times riven, as is one foot from secure fundament by the nature of the experience, yet still by this same nature of experience, is carefully, precisely, and architecturally placed in the foundation of this concept complex, and, indeed, in the archetypal mind complex. Experience has the nature of more effectively and poignantly expressing the architecture of experience, both the fragility of structure and the surety of structure. Questioner, it would seem to me that from the configuration of this male entity in card 4, who looks to the left, and the right foot is pointed to the left, that this card would indicate that you must be in a defensive position with respect to the left-hand path, with no need to concern yourself about protection with respect to the right-hand path. Would Ra comment on that? Ra, I am Ra. Again, this is not the suggestion we wish to offer by constructing this image. However, the perception cannot be said to be incorrect. Questioner, the magical shape is on the right edge of the card, indicating to me that the spiritual significance is on the right edge of the card, indicating to me that the spiritual experience would be the right-hand path. Could Ra comment on that? Ra, I am Ra, yes. The figure is expressing the nature of experience by having its attention caught by what may be termed the left-hand catalyst. Meanwhile, the power, the magic, is available upon the right-hand path. The nature of experience is such that the attention shall be constantly given varieties of experience. Those that are presumed to be negative or interpreted as negative may seem in abundance. It is a great challenge to take catalyst and devise the magical, positive experience. That which is magical in the negative experience is much longer coming, shall we say, in the third density. Questioner. Now, both the third and fourth archetypes, as I see it, work together for the sole purpose of creating the polarity in the most efficient manner possible. Is this correct? Ra. I am Ra. This cannot be said to be incorrect. We suggest contemplation of this thought complex. Questioner. Then prior to the veiling process, that which we call catalyst after the veiling was not catalyst simply because it was not efficiently creating polarity, because this loading process, you might say, that I have diagrammed, of catalyst passing through the veil and becoming polarized experience, was not in effect because the viewing of what we call catalyst by the entity was seen much more clearly as simply an experience of the one creator and not something that was a function of other mind-body-spirit complexes. Would Ra comment on that statement? Ra. I am Ra. The concepts discussed seem without significant distortion. Questioner. Thank you. Then we are expecting in card number 4 to see the results of catalytic action and, therefore, a greater definition between the dark and the light areas. In this card, we notice that it is more definitely dark-colored in some areas and more white in others in a general sense than card number 3, indicating to me that the separation along the two biases has occurred and should occur to follow the blueprint for experience. Could Ra comment on that? Ra. I am Ra. You are perceptive, O student. Questioner. The bird in card 3 seems to be now internalized in the center of the entity in card 4, in that it has changed from the flight, then has achieved its objective and become a central part of the experience. Could Ra comment on that? Ra. I am Ra. This perception is correct, O student, but what shall the student find the bird to signify? Questioner. I would guess that the bird signifies that a communication that comes as catalyst signified in card 3 is accepted by the female and used becomes a portion of the experience. I'm not sure of that at all. Am I in any way correct? Ra. I am Ra. That bears little of sense. Questioner. I'll have to work on that. Then I'm guessing that the cross legs of the entity in card 4 have a meaning similar to the cross of the crux on Sata. Is this correct? Ra. I am Ra. This is correct. The cross formed by the living limbs of the image signifies that which is the nature of the mind-body-spirit complexes in manifestation within your illusion. There is no experience which is not purchased by effort of some kind, no act of service to self or others which does not bear a price to the entity manifesting, commensurate with its purity. All things in manifestation may be seen in one way or another to be offering themselves in order that transformations may take place upon the level appropriate to the action. Questioner. The bird is within a circle on the front of the entity in card 4. Would that have the same significance as the circular part of the crux on Sata? Ra. I am Ra. It is a specialized form of this meaningful shape. It is specialized in great part due to the nature of the cross legs of the manifestation, which we have previously discussed. Questioner. The entity of card 4 wears a strangely shaped skirt. Is there a significance to the shape of the skirt? Ra. I am Ra. Yes. Questioner. The skirt is extended toward the left hand, but is somewhat shorter towards the right. There is a black bag hanging from the belt of the entity on the left side. It seems to me that this black bag has a meaning of the acquiring of material possessions of wealth as part of the left-hand path. Would Ra comment on that? Ra. I am Ra. Although this meaning was not intended by Ra as part of the complex of concepts, we find the interpretation quite acceptable. A 30-second pause occurs. I am Ra. As we observe a lull in the questioning, we shall take this opportunity to say that the level of transferred energy dwindles rapidly, and we would offer the opportunity for one more full question at this working, if it is desired. Questioner. I would just state that this card, being male, would indicate that as experience is gained, the mind becomes the motivator, or that which reaches or does more than the simple experiencer prior to the catalytic action. That is, there is a greater tendency for the mind to direct the mind-body-spirit complex, and other than that, I would just ask if there is anything that we can do to make the instrument more comfortable or improve the contact. Ra. I am Ra. In the context of your penultimate query, we would suggest that you ponder again the shape of the garment which the image wears. Such habiliment is not natural. The shape is significant and is so along the lines of your query. The support group cares well for the instrument. We would ask that care be taken as the instrument has been offered the gift of a distortion towards extreme cold by the fifth density friend which greets you. Although you may be less than pleased with the accoutrements, may we suggest that all was as carefully prepared as each was able. More than that, none can do. Therefore, we thank each of you for your careful alignments. All is well. We leave you, my friends, in the love and in the light of the one glorious infinite Creator. Go forth, then, rejoicing in the power and in the peace of the one Adonai. On the Fringe with Dan RadioStyle. Oh my God, that was the single hardest thing I've ever voiceovered in my life up to this point in my life, in my career, like 25 plus years. Yes, the hardest thing I've ever done. More than that, jeez. All said, I've got 5 points. I don't know if any questions. If you guys got questions, good time to get it in because I'm going to make 5 points. I'm going to buy you some time. Did not train, study, try to contact Ra. There's many people that think there's like this specific set of hand gestures that you must do, and then you can get into the glorious temple. It's not that. It's actually on the inside. It's it's the combination at best from that standpoint. But the teacher does not find the student. The student actually ends up kind of stumbling upon the teacher. It's always been that way. It's that hidden door, right? The hidden door you'll only see when you're ready to see it, but never before. If you're looking for it, you'll never find it. But when you finally just kind of get into the groove of who you are, where you are right now here, you will see the doorway at some point pop into your life. And when it does, you'll know it's time to go. It won't happen before. It won't happen after. It'll happen exactly when it's supposed to. When you're ready. They talk about right hand, left hand. This is very important. Don't get hung up on it, though. Okay? Left hand is service to self. Right hand, service to others. But things will balance between life to a degree because you need to understand both hot, cold water. Like this is a dual world. Left means something because of right. Hot means cold, up, down, right? Everything's got a thing that opposite of it, right? So it's necessary, but at the same time, how far down a certain path do you go? That negative polarity or how far down do you go? And you can always come back. This is a big part of that understanding of finding the line. And, there's a lot to be said about the experiences that we have while we're here. Law of confusion is a very powerful thing. It controls how much you will, frankly, understand. Law of confusion is the thing that you will use. Something, if they'd show me in real life, then maybe I'd know. And then something kind of crazy happens that's really close to that. And then you instantly poo-poo it. Well, that's different. There was swamp gas and it's reflecting off of Venus. And that's what most of us do and can do and will do. You don't have to. Because ultimately what matters is what you experience. That's why I keep saying your experience. What matters most is your experience. Not what someone else says they experience. Not what someone else says you should experience. But in fact, your experience is what matters. More than anything else. 100%. Everyone else, doesn't matter. What did you experience? And that's what I would always ask if dealing with someone. Creation is on the right path. Why did I say that? And removal's the other. I don't know where I was going with that. I had a thought that was apparently really good. Yeah. We create. Right path is. That's where I was going with that. Okay. Creation, right hand is more of a creative thing. It's where the soul kind of comes from. Service to self is more of a kind of a retro, like pulling into, like sucking kind of mechanism because you're asking others to do things for you. And so really that's where a lot of that comes from. So in my opinion, the service to others path is a very creative path, a very expansive path, a very energy outward path. Feels good. Either way, honestly, they're all serving self, by the way. That's the thing that's weird. So a lot of people are like, that's negative and that's positive. It's like, well, a battery doesn't exist without the two terminals. Otherwise, it's just a positive. Like, it doesn't matter. So it's the way it is. Source, creator, God made it this way. This is the game. This is who we are. This is where we are. This is what we are. What are you doing about it? How, you know the rules. Now, how do you behave? And last point I had, everything has a price. This is true. The things that matter in life require a resistance, whether that's effort, whether that's pain, whether that's whatever. But everything in life of substance that matters requires some sort of counter rotation, some sort of I've got to effort up on this, or else it's not. If it's easy, guarantee you're not getting anything from it. Guarantee. If it's anything like that, no such thing as a free lunch, they say. So if that is kind of the experience you're having, it's not going to work out for you. You're going to ultimately end in the end. I do not see any questions. I think I love you guys. I hope you guys all, I don't think I love you. I love you guys. I just realized people are saying goodbye and stuff. Goodbye, people that are already out. Again, I love you all. We've got a lot to happen in the world, and I hope this is helping you look at how much power you have in that situation. I love you guys. We're going to keep fighting the fight. We've got sessions 95 and 96 next week. And tomorrow I've got some great music. We will continue. And A-Score, thank you again. S. Jones, all you guys. Patriots, Daryl. You guys are amazing people. Tattoo Tammy. A lot of great people. Yavaka. A lot of good people in here. Appreciate you all. Certainly we will continue to do this. And it is On the Fringe with Dan RadioStyle.
Meditation is supposed to be fun. It's not something you do as a grim duty. The trouble with religion as we know it is that it is so mixed up with grim duties. We do it because it's good for you. It's a kind of self-punishment. Well, meditation, when correctly done, has nothing to do with all that. It's a kind of digging the present. It's a kind of grooving with the eternal now. And brings us into a state of peace where we can understand that the point of life, the place where it's at, is simply here and now.
This moment is the creation of the universe. It's starting now. If you look back and wonder whether there was a big bang a long time ago, all you'll see is vanishing traces. The big bang is happening now. This is when the world begins. You're doing it. Only you're not doing it by straining. A you deeper than the straining you is doing all this. The same you that is growing your hair and coloring your eyes and making your thumbprints and all that. You don't think about it. You don't strain muscles to do it. But that is what is creating the world. Here it comes. Now. So instead of thinking that the past is the reality which explains everything that happens now, let's look at now.